Well, Olympic champion Caster Semenya is challenging the proposed IAAF rule aimed at restricting testosterone levels in female runners. Yesterday was the first day of proceedings at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. That's in Switzerland. Let's talk about this some more now. I'm joined from Switzerland by Dr Phathokuhle Zondi. She's the CEO of the Sports Science Institute of South Africa. Dr. Zondi, good morning, and thanks for your time this morning. Now, I'm just looking at what you say the issue is, or the problems are with what the IAAF has proposed. I'd like to hear from you, according to your research, what you have found about what they have to say about lowering testosterone levels and how this actually, what it has to do with performance.
Good morning, Yuveka, and thank you for having me on your show. Morning to all the listeners. Yuveka, you've hit the nail on the head, really. That's how I got involved in this discussion, in fact. As a physician, as a scientist, when the regulation came out, I asked myself, all right, let me critically evaluate the evidence on which this policy is based. And it was in doing so, and then gathering a team of South African and international experts, that as we began unpacking and engaging on the issue, we realized, hang on, there's a few fundamental flaws that need to be brought to the surface. So really, specifically, the issues for me are several, but let me just try and simplify it. Firstly, I think the fundamental issue is the IAAF says that testosterone is the single biggest differentiator between the female and male athlete. And it's the biggest reason that there's a performance advantage in males over females. And so I took this statement and said, let's unpack it. While we agree that testosterone does influence performance, and I don't think any scientists will argue this, when you're talking about a group, a subgroup, you then need to quantify the extent or the magnitude of that advantage. And that's where I feel, as first start, that the science that the IAAF relies on has failed. They are unable to quantify the extent of performance advantage and show that it is indeed 10 to 12% advantage that it causes over women. That DSD athletes have over other women, firstly. The second thing is, just in terms of the methodology of that scientific study itself, there are a number of concerns, and statisticians and scientists worldwide have shown that the studies on which this policy is based is fundamentally flawed. And then I think as a clinician, there were then a number of other issues that I took, to task to, and really specifically that was, I have a responsibility as a clinician to protect the health of the athletes. And I would argue and strongly challenge the IAAF and say that this policy does not protect the health of the athletes concerned.
Yeah, I mean, what they're asking these women to do, the medication or the drugs they're actually asking them to do to lower those levels if they are found to have what they term very high levels of testosterone. Doc, how could that harm them? What could be the side effects of that? Because, just speaking to our last guest, who also is involved in the running fraternity, just saying that who decides what level is actually too high for a woman to have in her body to compete as a woman? Who made that decision? Where did that, how do you quantify that? And then also just saying the IAAF is against drugs of any kind being used in sport. How then do you justify, and isn't it ironic that we're asking women to put a drug in their body to lower a certain level that is naturally in their body? Well,
exactly. And I think that was the first thing, again, as a clinician, we said, okay, how do we decide on the random number 5? Now, what IAAF has said is, we understand that generally women have testosterone levels between, basically below the level of 2 generally, and men have testosterone levels, let's just say over 7, but largely over 10. And so essentially based on another study that was published, decided that 5, but to accommodate a few outliers, women with polycystic ovarian syndrome, and therefore accommodate these women that they don't see as a threat necessarily to the female category. Yeah. But really what's important is the use of medication and the off-use, off-label use.
Okay, well, we see.
You need to be aware of the side effects of that medication. Yeah. And then you need to ask yourself, is the benefit of taking that medication worth something?
Okay, well, we seem to be having a problem with that line to Dr. Zondi there, but I think we have the gist of what she's saying is who has done the research, who has determined that these are the levels of testosterone that a woman should have in her body, and those are not the only things, when it comes to performance. Is it only testosterone? The questions we need to be asking when